Air Florida Flight 90 never climbed. It struck a bridge 78 seconds after takeoff. January 13, 1982. Washington, D.C. A rare and heavy snowstorm had blanketed the capital. Temperatures hovered near 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Washington National Airport had been closed for most of the afternoon, and a long line of aircraft waited for departure. Air Florida Flight 90 was a Boeing 737-222, registration N62AF, scheduled from Washington National to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 74 passengers and 5 crew members were on board. Captain Larry Wheaton, 34, had limited experience flying in icy conditions. First Officer Roger Pettit sat in the right seat. The aircraft had been de-iced, but it then sat in the taxi queue for 49 minutes as snow continued to fall. Captain Wheaton declined a second de-icing. At 15:59 Eastern Standard Time, Flight 90 was finally cleared for takeoff on runway 36. As the engines spooled up, the cockpit voice recorder captured First Officer Pettit expressing concern. The engine pressure ratio readings appeared abnormal. "That don't seem right, does it?" Pettit said. That's not right," he repeated. Captain Wheaton did not abort the takeoff. Ice had formed on the engine inlet pressure probes, causing false high EPR readings. The pilots believed they were at takeoff thrust. In reality, the engines were producing far less power than required. The 737 accelerated slowly down the runway, its wings contaminated with snow and ice. Flight 90 lifted off, but could not climb. The stall warning stick shaker activated almost immediately. The aircraft pitched up, then down, struggling to gain altitude. It crossed the boundary of the airport at barely 200 feet, descending. Pettit's final words: "Larry, we're going down. Larry." At 16:01 EST, just 78 seconds after brake release, the Boeing 737 struck the 14th Street Bridge spanning the Potomac River. It clipped 7 vehicles, killing 4 motorists. The aircraft then plunged through the ice into the frozen river below. Of the 79 people on board, only 5 survived. 4 motorists on the bridge also perished. The survivors clung to wreckage in the freezing Potomac. A bystander, Lenny Skutnik, dove into the icy water to rescue a struggling passenger. A helicopter crew pulled others from the river. One passenger, Arland Williams, repeatedly passed the helicopter rescue line to others instead of taking it himself. He saved several lives. When the helicopter returned for him, he had slipped beneath the surface. The 14th Street Bridge was later renamed in his honor. The NTSB investigation determined the probable cause was the flight crew's failure to use engine anti-ice during ground operations, their decision not to abort the takeoff despite anomalous instrument readings, and the captain's failure to reject a second de-icing before departure. The disaster transformed winter operations in aviation. The FAA mandated stricter de-icing procedures and holdover time limits. Crew resource management training was overhauled. First Officer Pettit had identified the problem, but lacked the authority culture to override his captain's decisions. Air Florida Flight 90 became one of the most studied accidents in aviation history. It taught an industry that the most dangerous failures are not always mechanical. Sometimes they begin with a decision not to speak up. 78 lives demand that lesson never be forgotten. If this story moved you, subscribe. Share it so the lessons of Flight 90 are never lost.